All right, let's dive into a cosmic framework that is so detailed, so intricate, it might just re-engineer how you think about, well, everything. We're not just talking about stars and planets here. According to these papers, we need to talk about the very architecture of reality itself. So forget the whole primordial soup idea for a minute. This theory poses a pretty wild question. What if life on Earth didn't just happen by chance? What if it was more like a cosmic delivery? Purposefully packaged and sent across the universe with a very specific destination in mind? Us. That's the radical idea we're digging into today. And this whole concept comes from the work of a theoretical physicist, Dr. Melvin Sewell. His papers lay out this incredibly complex, kind of mythic-scientific framework, a multiverse that doesn't operate on random chaos, but more like a grand, systemic, and maybe even intelligent design. To really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll look at the map of this multiverse. Then, we'll trace life's origin story through what's called a cosmic supply chain. After that, we'll check out the delivery vehicles themselves, understand the rules that govern the whole system, and then finally, we'll ask the biggest question of all: what's the ultimate purpose behind it? So before we can even begin to talk about where life comes from, we have to understand the playing field. See, Dr. Sewell's papers don't just describe any old multiverse, they describe a highly organized one with a very clear hierarchy. The core concept here is something called reality levels, or RLs for short. The easiest way to think about them is like different levels in a video game, or maybe different floors in a cosmic skyscraper. Each level, from RL0 all the way up to RL8, operates under its own completely unique set of rules, its own physics, its own cause and effect, its own logic. And these different realities, they are not all cut from the same cloth, not even close. As you can see here, some are quantum realities, like ours, pretty much governed by probability and physics. But others are narrative, where story logic is actually more important than the laws of physics. And then you have mythic realities, where belief itself can literally shape the world around you. This means that this cosmic delivery service has to tailor its packages for some wildly different destinations. And this is where you really see the power scale. At the lower levels, you're basically stuck with the physics you're given. But as you go up the ladder, the rules get, well, more flexible. By the time you get to RL8, you're talking about sovereign intelligences. Beings who don't just follow the laws of physics, they write them. It's a completely top-down hierarchical system. Okay, so we've got our map of reality. Now, the question is, how does life actually begin in a system like this? And this is where the theory gets super specific, proposing what sounds almost like an industrial process for seeding the entire cosmos. According to the papers, it all starts with something called a first rift event. From this tear in reality, rift forges emerge. Think of these like cosmic factories that manufacture the basic building blocks for life. These ingredients are then launched out in massive rift bursts, packaged into these special delivery vessels, and sent off toward their final destinations. It's a complete end-to-end supply chain for panspermia on a multiversal scale. Now, let's zoom in on that 4th step, the delivery itself, because this is where the theory really gets its name. It's all about the vehicle, what it is, and what happens when it finally arrives. These delivery vehicles are called Courier-Bodies, and you can think of them as these purpose-built biological cruise missiles or maybe cosmic mail carriers. Their one and only job is to protect and transport the fundamental ingredients of life across the huge, hostile distances between different worlds and even different realities. But hey, the job isn't done just because the package arrives. The ultimate goal is something the papers call pattern stabilization. This is the critical moment. It's where the delivered components don't just land on a planet, but they successfully integrate, they stabilize, and they kick off the whole process of forming coherent, evolving life. The delivery is only a success if the seed actually takes root. So we have a cosmic system, and we have a delivery mechanism. But is this whole process just fire and forget? Or is something, or maybe someone, overseeing the entire operation to make sure those deliveries get to the right place and actually work? Well, according to the Sewell papers, there are definitely rules. There's a protocol for observation and for control. This whole thing is managed by something called the RL6 protocol. Now, don't think of this like a law of nature. Think of it as a technology. It's a system that was built by those higher-level intelligences to observe and manage all the lower realities. It's basically a cosmic operating system. And just like any OS, it has its own tech stack. You've got the hardware, which is the physical foundation of reality itself. The network is what connects different worlds, allowing for travel and communication. The runtime is the core operating system where all the rules and protocols are executed. And then finally, you have the manifestation layer, and that's where commands from the OS actually become real and can change the world. The system really has two main functions: reading data and writing it. As you can see here, the read function is a passive protocol called HSIA. It's used for monitoring and diagnostics, basically just watching what's going on. But the write function, that's called trip. It's an active protocol used for direct intervention. This is how the higher levels can actually influence or even control the lower ones. And that brings us to the final and honestly the most profound question. We've seen the what and we've seen the how. But why? Why build this unbelievably vast and complicated system for creating, delivering, and managing life across realities? I mean, is this whole thing just a grand science experiment? A cosmic garden being tended by some higher intelligence? The papers suggest the answer is actually far more unsettling. The purpose, it seems, isn't just creation for its own sake. The papers state their purpose pretty directly. They were, and I'm quoting here, authored as cinematic indictment and sovereign broadcast. Just think about that for a second. This isn't just being presented as a scientific theory. It's being framed as a message, a judgment, broadcast from a higher reality down to ours. So what that means is the entire framework we've just walked through, it's a diagnostic tool. It's designed to expose deep, fundamental flaws in reality itself. Things like systemic erosion, which means the very rules of reality are starting to fray. Ritualized containment, where beings or even entire worlds are trapped in these repeating loops. And actor convergence, where separate consciousnesses are being forced to merge against their will. It's a warning that the cosmic operating system is corrupted, or maybe it's failing. And that leaves us with the ultimate cliffhanger, doesn't it? If this impossibly complex multiversal framework is a message in a bottle, a kind of diagnostic report on the state of our own existence, what exactly is the diagnosis for us? The papers lay out the system, but the final verdict? Well, that's left for us to think about.